You took your blood pressure pill this morning, just like you did yesterday and the day before. But here is the question nobody writes on the prescription label. Was your medication actually working at the most dangerous moment of your entire 24-hour day? Because your blood pressure does not stay flat while you sleep. Between roughly 4 and 10 in the morning, your body triggers a sharp, sudden pressure surge. Researchers have documented that cardiovascular event strokes, heart attacks, cluster overwhelmingly in that morning window. It is the single most dangerous period in your circadian day, and if you are taking your medication at the wrong time, your pill may be at its weakest precisely when your arteries need it most. I'm Dr. Michael Adeyemi. I've spent over 3 decades in preventive cardiology, and today, I'm going to walk you through 5 timing mistakes adults over 60 make with their blood pressure medication mistakes that can silently increase your risk of stroke, heart attack, dangerous falls, and hospitalization. Stay with me, because by the time we get to mistake number 1, you may want to call your doctor the same day. Before we continue, I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments. Do you currently take your blood pressure medication in the morning or at night? Just write morning or night and your age. I'm always interested to see how many people have never been told that timing might matter. Your blood pressure is not a flat line. Before we talk about the mistakes, I need to give you a piece of biology that makes everything else make sense. Most people picture blood pressure as something steady, like water pressure in a pipe. Constant, predictable, the same at noon as it is at midnight. That is not how your body works, not even close. Your blood pressure runs on a biological clock. It follows your circadian rhythm, the same internal timer that governs your sleep, your cortisol levels, your body temperature, and dozens of other systems. Here is the pattern in a healthy adult over 60. During the night, blood pressure drops. We call this nocturnal dipping, a natural protective decline of roughly 10 to 20%. Your heart gets a rest. Your arteries get a rest. Then, as your body begins preparing to wake up, typically around 4 a.m., something dramatic happens. Cortisol rises. The sympathetic nervous system activates, heart rate increases, and blood pressure surges sharply. By the time you open your eyes, sit up, and swing your legs out of bed, that surge is already well underway. Researchers call it the morning surge, and it is not a minor fluctuation. Research published in Hypertension and the American Journal of Hypertension has consistently shown that cardiovascular events, stroke, heart attack, sudden cardiac death cluster in the morning hours between 6 a.m. and noon. Studies tracking elderly hypertensive patients found that those with an excessive morning blood pressure surge had more than twice the stroke risk compared to those with lower surges. Now, after 60, your arterial walls have naturally lost some of their elasticity, a process called arteriosclerosis. The arteries that once absorbed pressure like a fresh rubber hose now behave more like aging plastic tubing. They are less forgiving. They are more vulnerable. The morning surge hits harder, and the consequences when something goes wrong are more severe. Your blood pressure medication was prescribed precisely to manage this danger. But whether it actually does depends completely on when it is in its absorption cycle when that surge arrives. That is what the next 20 minutes are about. Mistake number 5. The coffee and beta blocker timing problem. Let's start with number 5, and this one is specifically for anyone on a beta blocker. Medications like metoprolol, atenolol, or carvedilol. If that describes you, drop a comment below, because this interaction is one of the most commonly overlooked issues I see in patients over 60. Here is the mechanism, explained simply. Your sympathetic nervous system is like a gas pedal for your heart. When you press it with stress, excitement, exertion, or caffeine, your heart rate goes up, adrenaline flows, and blood pressure rises. Beta blockers work by blocking that gas pedal. They reduce the heart's response to adrenaline. That is precisely why they are prescribed. Now, caffeine is a stimulant. It presses the same gas pedal that beta blockers are trying to block. When you take your beta blocker and then drink coffee shortly after, you are creating a physiological tug-of-war inside your cardiovascular system. Research published in Frontiers in Pharmacology confirms that caffeinated drinks can slow the metabolism of beta blockers, potentially extending or altering the drug's activity window. For patients with underlying arrhythmia, caffeine's stimulatory effects on adenosine receptors can work against the beta blocker's suppressive action, contributing to symptomatic palpitations in susceptible individuals. I had a patient, a retired school teacher, 71 years old, had been on metoprolol for 4 years, who came to me complaining that every morning she felt a flutter in her chest. She thought it was anxiety. She had started avoiding commitments in the morning because of it. We went through her routine carefully. Pill at 7:30, coffee large, 2 cups at 7:45. We shifted her pill to 7 o'clock. Coffee after 8 o'clock. 2 weeks later, she called the office. It's completely gone, she said. Then she asked me a question I have never forgotten. Why did no one ever ask me when I drank my coffee? If you are on any beta blocker and notice morning palpitations, ask your doctor or pharmacist about spacing your medication and your first cup of coffee apart by at least 45 minutes. Let it absorb. Let it establish itself. Then have your coffee. Decaffeinated coffee carries no meaningful interaction and is fine at any time. Mistake number 4, the grapefruit problem. Hidden in your refrigerator. Mistake number 4 targets a specific class of medications called calcium channel blockers, drugs like felodipine, nifedipine, and nisoldipine. These are among the most commonly prescribed blood pressure medications in the world, and they have an interaction that most patients have either never heard of or heard of once and quietly forgotten. Grapefruit. Your digestive system has a built-in regulatory enzyme called CYP3A4. Think of it as a quality control gate. Its job is to process medications as they pass through your gut wall, regulating how much of the drug actually enters your bloodstream. It is a safety mechanism. It prevents drug levels from spiking too high. Grapefruit contains compounds called furanocoumarins. And furanocoumarins do one thing very efficiently. They disable CYP3A4. This interaction is well-established science, documented since 1989, and reviewed in the British Journal of Clinical Pharmacology and the American Journal of Hypertension. The effect can persist for up to 24 hours after consumption. For susceptible calcium channel blockers, particularly felodipine, nisoldipine, and nifedipine, this can cause blood levels of the drug to rise significantly above the intended therapeutic concentration. The result is an exaggerated drop in blood pressure, dizziness, lightheadedness, and in older adults with reduced vascular tone, potentially a dangerous fainting episode. I want to tell you about a patient of mine, a retired engineer, 74 years old, who had been on felodipine for 2 stable years without incident. His wife began purchasing a new citrus juice blend, one of those colorful bottles at the supermarket. Neither of them noticed it contained grapefruit juice. On the 3rd morning, he stood up from the breakfast table and hit the floor. No heart attack, no stroke. His blood pressure had crashed to a level that simply could not sustain consciousness. When we pieced it together, the culprit was the juice. The action step: if you are on any calcium channel blocker, call your pharmacist today and ask specifically, is grapefruit a concern with my exact medication? Do not assume some calcium channel blockers are more effective than others. Amlodipine, for instance, does not carry the same interaction risk. And do not just avoid whole grapefruit juice and certain juice blends carry the same furanocoumarins. Replace with orange juice, apple juice, or water. If you are still there, type number 4 in comments. Mistake number 3. The middle of the night fall, risk nobody connects to a pill. Mistake number 3 is the one I feel most urgently about sharing with older adults and with the family members watching alongside them. This one does not look like a medication problem. It looks like a weak bladder. It looks like bad luck. It looks like the kind of thing people accept as just part of getting older. It is not. Diuretics, commonly called water pills, are among the most widely prescribed components of blood pressure treatment. Medications like hydrochlorothiazide, furosemide, and chlorthalidone work by signaling your kidneys to excrete excess fluid, which reduces blood volume and in turn reduces pressure. Simple, effective, and very commonly taken by adults over 60. The timing problem is this: diuretics were designed to be taken in the morning, but many patients, either because they missed their morning dose, because they were never given specific timing instructions, or because the label simply says once daily, without further guidance, end up taking their diuretic in the late afternoon or early evening. The drug then reaches its peak activity at 1, 2, or 3 in the morning. The kidneys excrete fluid, the bladder fills. The patient wakes up in the dark, gets out of bed, stands up, and here is where the danger compounds. Standing up after lying down causes blood pressure to drop briefly. In adults over 70, a condition called orthostatic hypotension, a pronounced blood pressure drop upon standing, affects a significant proportion of the population. A person who is already dehydrated from nighttime diuretic activity, groggy from interrupted sleep, walking to a dark bathroom on aged joints, that person is in genuine danger. A 2023 systematic review and meta-analysis published in Archives of Gerontology and Geriatrics found that diuretic use in older adults was associated with a statistically significant 18.5% higher probability of falls compared to non-users. And here is the statistic that stops me every time I say it out loud. 1-year mortality following hip fracture in adults over 70 is consistently documented between 20 and 30% in the peer-reviewed literature. 1 in 4 to 1 in 5 people who fracture a hip after the age of 70 will not be alive 12 months later. I had a patient, a 76-year-old retired librarian who had been waking 3 times a night for over a year. She was exhausted. Her family thought she might have a sleep disorder. She was taking hydrochlorothiazide with her dinner at 6:30 every evening because that was the meal she consistently remembered. We moved her dose to 8 a.m. Within 1 week, she was sleeping through the night. She told me, "I feel like I got my life back." And she had. The rule on this one is absolute. If you are on a diuretic, take it before 10 a.m. If you are on a twice-daily diuretic, your second dose should be taken no later than 2 p.m. Write it on a sticky note. Put it on your medicine cabinet. This one rule alone could prevent a fall that changes everything. We have covered 3 of the 5 mistakes. Number 2 is one that almost every patient I have ever seen has made at least once, and many do not realize how dangerous it can be for specific medications. And number 1, the biggest mistake, the one hiding in plain sight in how almost every prescription is written, we are almost there. But first, I want to ask you something. If any of these first 3 mistakes resonated with you, if you recognize your own routine in any of these stories, please share this video with someone you love who is over 60 and takes blood pressure medication. You might not realize whose life you are changing. Don't forget to press that like button and subscribe to the channel. It only takes your 3 seconds. Mistake number 2, the double dose danger and the silent half-dose habit. Mistake number 2 has 2 versions. Both are common, both are preventable, and one of them is particularly dangerous for a specific class of blood pressure medications. Version 1, the double dose. You wake up at 7 a.m. and take your pill, or you meant to, but by 3 in the afternoon you genuinely cannot remember whether you did, so you take it again to be safe, or you simply forget the morning dose entirely and try to compensate by taking 2 at bedtime. I understand the logic. It feels responsible. Better to have too much coverage than too little. But here is what happens inside your body when you take a double dose of a long-acting calcium channel blocker, or ARB medications like valsartan or olmesartan. These drugs work by relaxing the muscular walls of your arteries, reducing resistance, and allowing blood to flow with less pressure. One therapeutic dose does this gradually, safely, and in a controlled manner. 2 doses at once creates a sudden, steep collapse in vascular resistance. Blood pressure drops sharply. In a younger adult with elastic compensatory arteries, this is uncomfortable but survivable. In an adult over 65 with stiffer vessels, possible coronary artery disease, and a cardiovascular system with less reserve, that drop can cause syncope, which is fainting, and in some cases, ischemia, insufficient blood flow to the heart muscle or the brain. This risk is established in the clinical pharmacology of these drug classes and is consistent with how these medications work at the molecular level. I treated a 67-year-old contractor who worked irregular hours and had developed a habit of doubling up on evenings when he realized he had missed his morning dose. He came to my clinic after his wife found him unconscious on the kitchen floor. Blood pressure, 79/48. No cardiac event. A completely preventable episode. Version 2, the quiet half-dose habit. This one is quieter, but in some ways more insidious. A patient is prescribed a medication twice daily. After a few months, once daily is just easier to manage. They do not tell their physician. The blood pressure readings at clinic appointments look acceptable. The doctor sees the numbers and assumes the twice-daily regimen is working. But the twice-daily protection the medication was designed to provide is running at half capacity, and cardiovascular events that could have been prevented are occurring between those partially covered windows. The protocol for missed doses. If you miss a dose and remember the same day, take it as soon as you remember unless your next dose is within 4 hours. If it is close to your next scheduled dose, simply skip the missed dose and resume your normal schedule. Never double up without first calling your pharmacist, because the safety of doing so depends entirely on which medication you are on. And if you are privately taking a twice-daily medication only once daily, please tell your doctor. No judgment, just tell them. They need accurate information to protect you. Mistake number 1, the prescription that was written for the wrong time of day. And here we are. I want to be direct with you about something before I explain this. This mistake is not about a bad habit you developed. It is not about carelessness. It is about a standard medical practice that was established before we had the research to question it, and that the research has now meaningfully complicated. For decades, the default instruction on blood pressure prescriptions has been, take once daily in the morning. It made intuitive sense. Morning routines are consistent. Patients remember morning doses. And in an era when we did not yet deeply understand circadian cardiovascular biology, morning dosing seemed logical. We understand circadian biology very well now. Here is what a standard morning dose actually does in your body. You take your pill at 7 or 8 a.m. It absorbs over the next 1 to 2 hours. It reaches peak blood concentration around 9 or 10 a.m., just as the morning surge is already fading and your body is settling into the day. Then time passes. You go about your life. You sleep. And at 4 a.m., when the next morning surge begins to build, when your cortisol rises and your sympathetic nervous system fires and your arteries face their most dangerous window, your medication has been declining for 18 to 20 hours. The window of maximum cardiovascular risk is precisely when your medication may be at its weakest. Now consider bedtime dosing. You take your pill at 10 p.m. It absorbs overnight. By 4 a.m., it is at or near its peak concentration. It is fully active. The morning surge arrives and it hits a pharmaceutical wall. The Adeyemi chronotherapy trial, the largest study ever conducted specifically on blood pressure medication timing, enrolled over 19,000 adults with confirmed hypertension and followed them for a median of 6.3 years. The patients who took their antihypertensive medication at bedtime showed a 45% reduction in the composite cardiovascular outcome, including CVD death, heart attack, heart failure, and stroke, compared to those who took it in the morning. Published in the European Heart Journal. I need to be honest with you here, because I will not tell you only one side of the science. A subsequent large UK trial, the TIME study, involving over 21,000 patients and published in The Lancet in 2022, reached a different conclusion. Evening dosing produced no statistically significant difference in cardiovascular outcomes compared to morning dosing. The event rates were nearly identical, 3.4% for evening dosers versus 3.7% for morning dosers. Additionally, the Adeyemi trial has faced methodological scrutiny from multiple research groups, and the European Heart Journal issued a formal expression of concern, though the journal ultimately stated no grounds for factual or ethical concern were found. The science on this is genuinely unsettled. But here is what is settled. Bedtime dosing has not been shown to be harmful. And for a specific subset of patients, those who do not experience the normal nocturnal blood pressure dip during sleep, a pattern called non-dipping that becomes more common after 60 bedtime dosing may offer substantial, measurable benefit. The only way to know whether you are a non-dipper is a test called a 24-hour ambulatory blood pressure monitor. It is a small wearable device that records your blood pressure automatically throughout the day and night. It takes a full picture of your circadian blood pressure pattern when you dip, when you surge, and when your medication is most and least effective. This test is the most powerful tool available for personalizing your blood pressure treatment, and most patients who would benefit from it have never been offered it. I had a patient, a 79-year-old retired professor, who had been on her ACE inhibitor for over a decade. Her clinic readings were acceptable. Her doctor was satisfied. But when she finally underwent a 24-hour ambulatory monitor, the data revealed that her blood pressure surged to dangerous levels every morning between 5 and 7 a.m. a window her morning dose was completely missing. We switched her to bedtime dosing. 3 months later, her ambulatory readings showed complete morning surge suppression for the first time in years. Her cardiologist told her it was the best her cardiovascular data had looked in a decade. The single most important action item from this entire video. At your next appointment, ask your doctor these 2 questions. Should I be taking my blood pressure medication at bedtime instead of the morning, given what we know about morning surge risk? And would a 24-hour ambulatory blood pressure monitor help us understand my individual pattern? Those 2 questions could change the entire trajectory of your cardiovascular care. Let me give you the 5 mistakes in one clear sweep. 5. If you are on a beta blocker and notice morning palpitations, ask your doctor about spacing your pill and your first coffee apart by at least 45 minutes. 4. If you are on felodipine, nifedipine, or nisoldipine, grapefruit products are off limits. Ask your pharmacist about your exact medication. Note that amlodipine does not carry this same risk. 3. If you are on a diuretic, take it before 10 a.m. A late afternoon or evening diuretic is a nighttime fall waiting to happen. 2. Never double up on a missed dose without calling your pharmacist first. The answer depends entirely on your specific medication. 1. Ask your doctor whether bedtime dosing and a 24-hour ambulatory blood pressure monitor are right for you. Print this list. Put it somewhere you will see it. I want to leave you with something I genuinely believe. The fact that you are watching this, that you are asking questions, seeking information, refusing to simply accept a 15-minute appointment as the full extent of what you are allowed to know about your own body that matters. You are not a passive recipient of your own healthcare. You are a participant in it. And the more informed you are, the better the questions you bring to your doctor, and the better the care you receive. These 5 mistakes are not destiny. They are variables, and variables, when you understand them, can be managed. So here is my question for you today. Which of the 5 surprised you most? And which one are you going to act on before your next dose? Tell me in the comments, and tell me your age. The community that has formed here, the people who share their stories, their experiences, and their questions, they are part of why this channel exists. If this video gave you something your last appointment did not, please subscribe. Every week we publish exactly this kind of content: peer-reviewed science, real clinical context, and honest conversation for adults over 60 who deserve better than a pamphlet on the way out the door. I'm Dr. Michael Adeyemi. Stay well, stay informed, and I will see you in the next one.